Death in Iran by Hughes. Iran is mainly a Muslim country with 99.4% of the population identifying as Muslim. Shia Muslims are the most common now, although more people used to identify as Sunni Muslim. The people of Iran believe that death is the transition from one state of being to another. Death is not seen as the endpoint of someone's life. Iranians believe that the actions that you have done throughout your life on earth will follow you into the afterlife. Throughout their lives, Iranians live by the law of the Quran and believe that if you live a good life, you will be rewarded once you are dead. This allows the mourning family members to cope with their grief and suffering, knowing that their beloved ones are not perishing in the afterlife. Muslims believe that if a person should die throughout the day, the body must immediately be taken into the local mosque or the appointed cemetery, so that the body could be washed and prepared. On the other hand, if a person should die at night, the body must be kept in the home, with either low lights on or candles burning all night. Muslims believe that this light will ward off any of the evil spirits that might want to attack the body in the dark. The Quran is also present in order to protect and bless the deceased. Furthermore, Muslims believe that a body should be buried rather quickly after it has died because it resembles how good a life the person has lived and it's seen as a blessing. The Iranians carry out many rituals before death. Many women congregate around the person who is about to die and they say prayers and cry. Wailing is not an uncommon thing that women do before a person dies. Relatives of the dying person will dye the person's hands and feet with henna, because this is what the Prophet Muhammad did. The dying person is normally placed in the position that faces Mecca, a holy land site for Muslims, and spiritually blessed water is given to the dying person in order to bless them before their transition to the afterlife. Additionally, many verses from the Quran are recited, and if the dying person is still conscious, they are encouraged to recite these verses and ask Allah for forgiveness. Muslims do not believe in cremation, so it's crucial that the deceased is buried as soon as possible. Islamic customs prefer that the body is buried within 24 hours of passing. Male priests or mullahs will recite verses from the Quran and give condolences to the survivors of the deceased. The Mordeshu, a corpse washer, or family members of the same gender must wash the body with soap and water and then wrap the body in a white cotton shroud called a kafan. In order to prepare the body for the funeral, the body is washed. Body washing was once done publicly, but now it is typically a private affair. Additionally, there is not a visitation for people to view the body. This allows Muslims the ability to bury the body a lot quicker. The body is dressed in white cloths and is turned to face Mecca. The deceased's eyes and mouths are shut, and typically the body is never shown, and there is a closed casket. Iranians who attend the funerals wear black. Additionally, they carry a small Quran with them so that they can read along and say the prayers throughout the services. Persian classical music is also played, and it is an important part of the Iranian ceremonies. If people wish to give speeches, they are often very short and sweet. The longer speeches are given at the post-funeral gatherings. Iranian funerals often have many common sayings that are said throughout the services, such as "One always returns to Allah and ends with Him," and the Fatiha. After the funeral, there are memorial services for the deceased. Everyone who knows the deceased or the family attends the ceremony. There is a lot of weeping, crying, and other expressions of sorrow that are displayed throughout these ceremonies. These expressions are encouraged and expected of the Iranian people. Candles are lit, and halva, a sweet paste made of flour, sugar, and saffron, is served, along with tea and dates during these gatherings. Following Islamic traditions, only guests of the same sex should greet each other with a handshake and hug. Other etiquette of attending a funeral includes not to take pictures or use recording devices throughout the services, and Iranians are encouraged to not talk at the time of the burial, but they do have to pray for the soul of the departed. In the past, Iranians believed that women should not be allowed to participate in the funerals of their male relatives. This belief, however, is long gone, but men and women do respect their culture and their beliefs. They still uphold their belief of not touching one another, but both men and women do wear black to the funerals, and those who are related to the deceased wear black for 40 days following the funeral. Men must not wear head covers at funerals, and women must still cover their arms and legs. The cost of a funeral depends on where the body is being buried. A cemetery spot could cost 11 million reals, which is 265 US dollars, 200 million reals, which is 4,750 US dollars, or a spot could even cost up to 500 million reals, which equals to 11,875 US dollars. The cost of body washing is pretty consistent around 200 million reals, which is about 48 US dollars. And the funeral procession chanters can cost from 1 million reals or 24 US dollars and up, depending on the notoriety of the funeral chanter. Iranians participate in a lot of after-death rituals. The family of the deceased hosts a post-funeral gathering that has a dinner and they serve desserts. Typically, halva and rosewater is served. These gatherings are allowing the family members to socialize, which Iranians believe will help ease the pain of losing someone that they loved. A typical mourning period is 40 days, but that could last a lot longer or shorter depending on the person. The immediate family, however, must wear black for 40 days following the funeral, and widows typically wear black for a year or longer after the death of their significant other. There are not many differences between rich and poor Iranians. The only difference out there is where the body of their loved one is getting buried. Rich families can purchase entire tombs enough to hold 16 people, and they're also engineering new triple-decker burial sites that can house 48 people. These high-end burials can reach up to 1 billion reals, which is equivalent to 23,750 US dollars. These luxuries are not available to everyone. Poor people are given deductions in burial sites from graveyard authorities. They are allowing poor Iranians cemetery spots for only 7 million reals, which is 166 US dollars. Thank you for learning about how Iranians conduct funerals and go about death in their culture.